Up, let's go to the phones. I mentioned there was a smack-off champ on hold. Right to the front of the line. Let's go to Hollywood. Mark in Hollywood. What's going on, Mark? How are you?
Good, man. Honestly, the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he wasn't a practitioner of rat-fingism. Yo, I am vexed how everyone has been suckered by this car salesman, timeshare huckster Herb. Yo, all morning, quality journals like Pete Thamel, and I like Pete, all they've been saying was, well, we saw this coming because of his health. He clearly had to take a knee, and he had to take Midol, and he had cramps. Hello? This is what you do when you don't want to be at your job. Jim, you talk about it every year during March Madness. On Monday, you start the sniffles. Tuesday with the cough. Wednesday, you bring in the medicine. So by Thursday, no one questions you, and you're justified by taking the next 2 days off. That's basically what this rat-faced con man has been doing all season, idiots. He's been setting this up. Secondly, how is it, will he coach again, even a serious question for these journos? It's like people forget that he coached a successful college team in the South where he overlooked players' crimes, where one tight end was insulated against any punishment for his psychopath activities. And when things got hot and the sanctions came, Herb faked a coronary harder than Rick in Buffalo fakes his radio voice, bounced for a year, and then, shocker, he's the head coach of the Buckeyes. Trust me, in a few months, when the Browns or USC come a-calling, this dude's eyes are going to spring open like Tyson Fury and The Undertaker combined, and he's going to hop out of his deathbed and jig around harder than that freeloading scumbag Grandpa Joe. And finally, not to go all Chael Sonnen and Lance Armstrong with it, but Herb, if you're really feeling that crappy all the time to the point where you have to fake a brain cyst, retire to evaluate your medical status, you did it to yourself, didn't you? It must be hard having to lie to the national media about covering up a woman's abusive husband, but when your boy, who you lied for, started holding things over your head, when Zach Smith started to pop off on Twitter about how he has a ton of dirt that he could come out with at any time, yeah, that would mess with me too. We've all read The Telltale Heart. We know how guilt can drive someone insane or manifest itself physically. Imagine having to coach games, Jim, knowing that any time the posse can roll through into Columbus and ruin his already tarnished legacy. No wonder this guy was going through labor pains on the sidelines. So please, journos, Pete, stop the sympathy, the retrospectives, the gas bags pontificating on his amazing legacy. Sometimes you get exactly what you deserve. Except for Urban Meyer, coach of the 2021 Super Bowl winning New England Patriots. P.S. Jason Witten, you're not skating today, you hypocritical clown. I saw all of Twitter calling you out for vouching for Greg Hardy a few years back after your little monologue about domestic abuse last night. That hairpiece has you talking out both sides of your mouth, homie. Make the world a better place. Have Greg Hardy throw Witten on a gun bed and punch him in his fat, stupid face. Rack me.
Wow, I think I will. Mark in Hollywood. Mark in Hollywood showing up like it's a smack-off day. I agree with all that. I agree with a lot of that. I'd even say I agree with most of that. I don't agree with the fact that Urban made up that cyst that he has on his brain. That's a real thing. That brain surgery he had, brain surgery is a serious deal. So I don't think that, much like Mark said, that I always advise you clones that right around the time of the Final Four, you want to set that thing up properly, right? You know, Tuesday, start to get a cough. Wednesday, it's even worse. Make sure that you set that thing up so everybody knows just how sick you are. I don't think he did that with the cyst. I don't think that's why he was taking a knee. I don't think he faked the headaches. I think he really did have headaches. That said, I think the guy's disingenuous. I think the guy's not what he appears. And I think that if you want to talk about a legacy for Urban Meyer, how we're supposed to remember this guy, damn good football coach. And I'll leave it at that. Not a molder of young men. Not the ethical, moral guy that he'd lead you to believe. And certainly not all that honest either. This whole notion about, I don't remember. I can't remember the details of exactly what happened. This is the same guy who did say, as I mentioned in my take, he can remember every single play from the 2008 and 2009 SEC title games, but can't remember some of the details regarding Zach Smith. And why not? Because of his medication. Let me tell you something. This guy can remember every freaking play he's ever called against Michigan, but he can't remember those details? Oh, all right. So, no, I'm not going to sit here with a eulogy. I'm not going to sit here and hype this guy up and talk about what his career was like. Number one, I'm not convinced his career is over. Number two, I just don't see the guy like that. I see the guy this way. Great football coach, period. Not a great guy, not a great moral, ethical figure who's a great molder of men. You know, it says it right there on the wall. Treat women with respect. How you going to do that, Herb, if you keep Zach Smith, a guy who was allegedly abusing his wife on staff, as long as you did? And we're honest about that. And then allegedly try to cover that up. Allegedly. However, I will say this. He did not make up the cyst on his brain. That really does exist. That brain surgery, he didn't make that up. That really did happen. So where does he go? Mark just said, yeah, see you in New England, taking over for the hoodie. USC, Auburn, New England. I do not think we have seen the last of Urban Meyer. 1-800-636-8686. As I mentioned about Ohio State, they could have cut this guy clean. They could have put an end to this before the year started. They could have given that job to Ryan Day at that point, and then they'd be seen totally differently. Then they'd be seen as leaders. Instead, they acquiesce, and they do that deal. And what do they get in return? A beatdown by Purdue on the outside, looking in, and maybe a Rose Bowl win. Hope that's worth it. At Hitman Canadian, damn, Mark delivering molten lava, one of his best calls ever. Do you not know about Mark in Hollywood? Do you not know where he went to school? Do you not know what he's about? Does that surprise anybody at all? That said, it was a really strong call. Bella B is in. Quote, damn, best call I've heard in a very long time, and it's not even smack-off season. As I mentioned, Mark has some pretty strong opinions about that conference, about that guy, about that program. For him, it is smack-off season. For Herb to show up like that and retire like that, to Mark, that is smack-off day. And if you don't know that, you don't know the guy. 1-800-636-8686. I don't want to hear about some complicated legacy for Herb. It's not complicated at all. East Bay Troy tweets, I think I'm speaking for most clones in here in that we haven't read The Telltale Heart. That's fair. He did say, you know, we've all read The Telltale Heart. I haven't. And according to East Bay Troy, most of the clones have not. In all transparency, I have not. Who else wants to weigh in? You know, other than that, just go ahead and give it to that guy. He'll wire the field with a huge call.